Begin with our next industry, chemical industry. Chemical industry is a complex of processes, operations and organizations engaged in the manufacture of chemicals and their derivatives. Chemical industry in India is fast growing and diversifying. Rapid growth has been recorded in both inorganic and organic sector. It comprises both of large and small scale manufacturing units. Inorganic chemicals include sulfuric acid, which is used to manufacture fertilizers, synthetic fibers, plastic, adhesives, paints, and dyes, nitric acid, alkalis, soda ash, which is used to make glass, soap, detergent, paper, and caustic soda. This industry is widely spread over the country. Organic chemicals include petrochemicals, which are used for manufacturing of synthetic fibers, synthetic rubber, plastic, dyes, drugs, and pharmaceuticals. Organic chemical plants are usually located near oil refineries or petrochemical plants. Chemical industry is its own largest consumer. Basic chemicals undergo processing to further produce other chemicals that are used for industrial application, agriculture, or directly for consumer markets. Now let's move on to the next slide and understand how basic chemicals undergo processing to further produce other chemicals that are used for various applications, that is industrial application, for agriculture, or directly for consumer market. Now these basic chemicals undergo processing to further produce other chemicals that are used for industrial application. So huge quantities of ethane are transported as a gas by pipeline, for example around Europe, and sold to companies making polyethylene and other polymers. These are then sold on to manufacturers of plastic components, the company which makes various components made up of plastic, before being brought by the actual consumers. Now, for the agriculture industry, chemicals such as pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, and fertilizers used in agriculture to control pests and diseases or control and promote growth are forwarded to the agriculture industry, are handed over to agriculture industry with the help of these basic chemicals, and directly to the consumers. After processing, directly used by consumers, products are detergents, soaps, and perfumes. These are few of the examples which are mentioned over here in order to understand how these basic chemicals change or undergo process in order to make it available to various industries, for industrial application, for agriculture, and also directly to consumers. On to the next industry, that is the fertilizer industry. Fertilizers are substances that supply one or more of the chemicals required for plant growth. Fertilizers play an important role in the development of crops by providing the required nutrients for plants to grow. As a result, they may also improve the quality of crops. Fertilizers also help in improving farmers' crops yield. So now let us see what work does the fertilizer industry do in our country. Fertilizer industry is centered around the production of nitrogenous fertilizers, mainly urea, phosphatic fertilizers and ammonium phosphate (DAP), and complex fertilizers which have a combination of nitrogen, phosphate, and potash. The third, that is potash, is entirely imported as the country does not have any reserves of commercially usable potash or potassium compounds in any forms. Phosphate fertilizers. Commercial phosphate fertilizers are manufactured using phosphate rock. Approximately two-thirds of the world's phosphate resources are derived from sedimentary and marine phosphate rock deposits. Potash. Potash, a form of potassium oxide, is vital to plants throughout their life cycle, as it's water soluble and aided in the breakdown process by soil bacteria. Potash is easily absorbed by plants and helps them flower and bear fruit. Ammonium phosphate is used as an ingredient in few of the fertilizers, as it contains nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium compounds to promote plant growth. Ammonium ions NH4 positive and nitrate ions NO3 negative are source of soluble nitrogen. Phosphate ions are soluble or are source of soluble phosphorus. Fertilizer compounds must be soluble in water so that they can be absorbed by root hair cells. Nitrogenous fertilizers support plants' growth, rapid growth, and encourages the healthy development of foliage and fruit. This makes nitrogenous fertilizers especially appropriate for younger plants that need to grow rapidly as they establish themselves into the soil. Nitrogen is a part of the chlorophyll molecule which gives plant their green color and is involved in creating food for the plant through photosynthesis. Now, let us understand some negative effects of this nitrogen fertilizer. Nitrogen at higher level may cause a loss of certain plant species, depletion of soil nutrients, death of fish and aquatic organism, and contamination of drinking water. Now, these advantages of nitrogen fertilizer are this part is not there in the textbook. It is just for your understanding that this slide has been introduced in this particular chapter. So, when this extra nitrogen fertilizer supplied leaches into the air, soil, and water and pollutes lakes, rivers, aquifers, and oceans. When the nitrogen fertilizers goes into the lakes or rivers and mixes with it and oceans, many plants start growing, which cause the oxygen level to decrease in water, and marine life is highly affected by this. After the Green Revolution, industry expanded to several other parts of the country. Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala contributed towards half of the fertilizer production. Other significant producers are Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Rajasthan, Bihar, Maharashtra, Assam, West Bengal, Goa, Delhi, Madhya Pradesh, and Karnataka. You need to remember the names as it can be asked for 1 mark answer. Now, these are the revision points for chemical and fertilizer industry. Mostly chemical and fertilizer industry as an individual question is not asked. If it is asked in combination, that is two industries together. And if it is asked, it will be asked only for 3 marks or 1 mark question. Let us move on to the next industry, and that is cement industry. Do you know that the Roman builders used an early form of cement to construct the dome of the Pantheon temple in Rome, which is still standing after almost 1900 years? Cement was little used, however, from the fall of the Roman Empire to the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in Europe. Inventors in England and France experimented with the fast-setting cement and structural concrete in the late 17th century and the early 18th century. And concrete reinforced by internal steel rods was first used for building construction in the 1890s. Today, cement-based concrete is the most abundant manufactured material on earth. Cement is a rocky powder that can be mixed with water and molded to any desired shape, after which it hardens to a rock-like consistency. It is used worldwide both as a mortar to join bricks and blocks together and as an ingredient of concrete, which is a mixture of crushed rock, sand, and cement, which is used to construct buildings, bridges, roads, pipes, dams, and other structures. Now, Let us understand points which have been given in our textbook for cement industry. Very first point is that cement is essential for construction activities such as building houses, factories, bridges, roads, airports, dams, and for other commercial establishments. Second point is this industry requires bulky and heavy raw material like limestone, silica, and gypsum. Third point is it requires coal and electric power apart from rail transportation. So it requires coal and also requires electric power. Now we have this industry which is strategically located in Gujarat. There are plants in Gujarat which have suitable access to the market in the Gulf countries. This will be your fourth point and also an example. The first cement plant was set up in Chennai in 1904. After independence, this industry started expanding. Improvement in the quality, as the quality has been improved, the produce which is readily available in our country has a good market in East Asia, Middle East, Africa, and South Asian regions. Apart from this, there is a large demand within the country itself. India's cement industry is the second largest in the world in terms of production, with over 8% of the global installed capacity as per 2018, and it generates employment for over 1 million people. Do find out the current status of the cement industry, just for your information and for your understanding. Next industry in our textbook is automobile industry or automotive industry. The automobile industry comprises a wide range of companies and organizations involved in the design, development, manufacturing, marketing, and selling of motor vehicles. It is one of the world's largest economic sector by revenue. Tata Motors is the largest automobile manufacturing companies in India. Established way back in 1945, Tata Motors is a multinational automobile company with its headquarters in Mumbai. Previously, this was known as Stelco Tata Engineering and Locomotive Company. Tata Motors belong to definitely Tata Group. The role of automobile industry in Indian GDP has been phenomenal. The automobile industry is one of the fastest growing sector in India. Increase in the demand for cars and other vehicles powered by the increase in the income is the primary growth driver of the automobile industry in India. Understand points for automobile industry which are provided in our textbook. Automobiles provide vehicle for quick transport of goods, services and passengers. Trucks, buses, car, motorcycles, scooters, three-wheelers and multi-utility vehicles are manufactured in India at various centers. After the liberalization, the coming in new and contemporary models stimulated the demand for vehicles in the market, which led to a healthy growth of the industry including passenger cars, two and three-wheelers. This automobile industry is located around Delhi, Gurugram, Mumbai, Pune, Chennai, Kolkata, Lucknow, Indore, Hyderabad, Jamshedpur, and Bengaluru. Example for the automobile industry has been provided on the previous slide itself. So you can quote the example of Tata Motors while writing down the answer. Mostly it is 3-mark question which is asked on automobile industry. Let's move on to our next industry, and that is information technology and electronic industry. The two main components of information technology (IT) are software and hardware. The software has emerged as a major industry in the field of electronics. This industry has made a modest beginning in the 1970s, and by mid 1980s, the analysts and policy planners started understanding the potential of computer software application. This industry achieved a major breakthrough in the 1990s and now is one of the most important industries of India. The main cause of the rapid development of software industry is its vast reservoir of technically skilled manpower which has transformed India into a software superpower. The IT industry and electronic industry is one of the fastest growing industries in India both in terms of production and export. Now let us go through the points about information technology and electronic industry from our textbook. Electronic industry covers a wide range of products from transistor sets to television, telephones, cellular telecom, telephone exchange, radars, computers, and many other equipments required by the telecommunication industry. Bengaluru has emerged as the electronic capital of India. Important centers for electronic goods are Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Pune, Chennai, Kolkata, Lucknow, and Coimbatore. The major industry concentration is at Bengaluru, Noida, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, and Pune. A major impact of this industry has been on employment generation. The continuing growth in the hardware and software is the key to the success of IT industry in India. Remember children, all the industries what we have covered in this second part are mostly 3-mark questions which are asked in the board exam. This slide is the last map for manufacturing industries, the third map, important software technology park. This map is very important. All the places which are marked on this map have been asked n number of times in the board exam. It's very easy to remember and analyze all the places which have been given over here. Again the same thing, you have to maintain a hard copy of the map as it is a part of the subject enrichment activity. So please do mark it on the hard copy of the map which you have at home and file it up. Now let us move on to our next slide, and that is industrial pollution and environmental degradation. We have been discussing about various industries, but these industries have impact on the environment. And how are we going to curb this environmental degradation? So what are the policies, what are the norms that these industries have to follow in order to reduce the pollution level? First, let us find out various types of pollution. Although industries contribute significantly to India's economic growth and development, increase in pollution of land, water, air, noise result in degradation of environment. Industries are responsible for 4 types of pollution: air, water, land, and noise. Polluting industries also include thermal power plants. Next is air pollution. Air pollution is caused by the presence of high proportion of undesirable gases such as sulfur dioxide and carbon monoxide. Airborne particulate materials contain both solid and liquid particles like dust, spray, mist, and smoke. Smoke is emitted by chemicals and paper factories, brick kilns, refineries and smelting plants, and burning of fossil fuels in big and small factories that ignore pollution norms. So what happens because of this? There's a toxic gas leak which can be very hazardous and which can have long-term effects. Air pollution adversely affects human health, animals, plants, buildings, and the atmosphere. Long-term health effects from air pollution include heart disease, lung cancer, and respiratory diseases such as emphysema. It is a condition in which the air sacs of the lungs are damaged and are enlarged, which causes breathlessness. Conditions such as asthma, heart disease, and lung disease can be made worse by exposure to air pollution. The length of exposure and the amount and type of pollutants are also some of the factors. Water pollution is caused by organic and inorganic industrial waste and effluents discharged into rivers. The main culprits in this regard are paper, pulp, chemicals, textile and dyeing, petroleum refineries, tanneries, and electroplating industries that let out dyes, detergents, acids, salts, and heavy metals like lead and mercury, pesticides, fertilizers, synthetic chemicals with carbon, plastic, and rubber into the water bodies. Fly ash, phosphogypsum, and iron and steel slags are the major solid waste in India. From this, we can understand that industry is a huge source of water pollution. It produces pollutants that are extremely harmful to people and the environment. Many industrial facilities use fresh water to carry away waste from the plant and into rivers, lakes, and oceans. The pollutants which we have discussed, for example, lead, it is a metallic element and can cause health and environmental problems. It is non-biodegradable substance, so it is hard to clean up once the environment is contaminated. Lead is harmful to the health of animals, humans, and can inhibit actions of bodily enzymes. Oils which are discharged from industries as industrial waste does not dissolve in water. Instead, it forms a thick layer on the water surface. This can stop marine plants receiving enough light for photosynthesis. It is also harmful for fish and marine animals. Understand what is this fly ash. Fly ash is the ash which is produced in small dark flakes by the burning of the powdered coal or other material and carried into the air. Fly ash is produced by coal-fired electric and steam generating plants. Typically, coal is pulverized, that is reduced to fine particles, and blown with air into the boiler combustion chamber where it immediately ignites, generating heat and producing a molten mineral residue. Inhalation or ingestion of the toxins in fly ash can have impact on the nervous system, causing cognitive defects, developmental delays, and behavioral problems. It also increases person's chance of developing lung disease, kidney disease, and gastrointestinal illness. This fly ash, which is generated by the industries, can be used as a prime material in many cement-based products, such as poured concrete, concrete blocks, and bricks. One of the most common use of fly ash is in Portland cement concrete pavement or PCC pavement. You can see it in the image in front of you. Road construction projects using PCC can use a great deal of fly ash. This fly ash can also be used as an embankment and minefields. So there are many uses of this fly ash. So it should be used in an appropriate manner instead of this fly ash getting dumped in water bodies or lying around near the industrial belt. So this, if it is used in an appropriate manner, then it cannot have a environmental impact or on a human any sort of impact. I hope now you have understood what fly ash is all about and how it is used and what are its effects and how is it produced in the industries. Now let us move on to the next slide. Now on this slide, information about phosphorus mineral is given. So we have already discussed about this particular mineral. So you can go through the information on this slide and then let's discuss about phosphogypsum on the next slide. Phosphogypsum. Can you see the heap of phosphogypsum, the powdered phosphogypsum, this particular picture which is given over here? So it is a waste product generated by the phosphate industry. World production of this waste exceeds 200 million tons per year. Phosphogypsum discharged into the sea, water courses or in wilderness stocks contain toxic elements harmful to ecosystem and human health, including heavy metals. And there is therefore a concern regarding the environmental impact. The concentration of these elements vary between the region and the processes in which it is used, all of which require particular and specific follow-up after the release of phosphogypsum and during its use. Phosphogypsum is used in agriculture for soil amendments, that is what we have seen in the previous slides, or as fertilizer, as well as in the brick and cement industry and in road construction. Now, the information which is given to you about fly ash, phosphogypsum, and on the next slide about iron and steel slag. So it is basically to make you understand what these names actually mean. Because only reading and mugging up is not going to help us remember all these points. These are points for your answers for water pollution. So if you know what is fly ash, definitely you are going to remember it and you are going to write down those points in your answer. Okay, so all these points, all the meanings, or how is it formed, how is it used, for example fly ash, phosphogypsum, are not given in the textbook. It is for your information, for your understanding, and definitely to utilize these points while you are writing down your answers in the board exam. Iron and steel slag. It is also known as ferrous slag. It is produced by adding limestone or dolomite. Lime and silica sand are added to blast furnace and steel furnace to remove impurities from iron ore or scraps of iron, and in order to lower the heat requirement of the iron and steel making process. Now in this image you can see that the iron and steel slag has been produced. So this slag is an impurity for that particular industry where it is produced, correct? And so they are dumping it into the environment, into the soil. So this iron and steel slags contain toxic ingredients such as nickel, cadmium, chromium, and these compounds could be very harmful not only to environment but also to human health. So as there are disadvantages, it can be used in a very helpful manner to the environment too. How can it be utilized in a friendly manner? That is what each and every industry has to understand. There are uses of this slag too. It is not that it can be only be dumped into the atmosphere. It can be utilized in an appropriate manner. So proper steps have to be taken by each and every industry. Now this slag which is produced in the blast furnace can be utilized by the Portland cement because it has the properties, so it can be used with a concrete admixture. Alright, steel making slag, it can be used for civil engineering work, ground improvement material. Alright, so these are its uses. Alright, so that is how it can be utilized instead of just dumping it into the environment or into the soil. On this particular slide and on the next slide, how slag is produced, that is what is shown. So you can just observe it. This procedure is not going to come in any of the exam. It is just for your understanding that how slag is produced in integrated steel making process. So first one is from the blast furnace and second is from the steel furnace slag. So the properties and the characteristics, how it can be utilized, if it is from a blast furnace, if it is from a steel furnace. So that is what we had discussed on the previous slide, right? That as I mentioned, that from the blast furnace it can be used in the concrete, and the second one, steel furnace, it can be utilized in any of the construction sites. So that is how a proper utilization can be done of that slag. So how is it formed? That is what is shown on this image and the next image. So just go through it just for your understanding. Thermal pollution. Thermal pollution of water occurs when hot water from factories and a thermal plant is drained into rivers and ponds before cooling. Waste from nuclear power plants, nuclear weapons, nuclear and weapon production facilities cause cancer, birth defects, and miscarriages. Dumping of waste, especially glass, harmful chemicals, industrial effluents, packing, salts, and garbage render the soil useless. So if we are going to dump all these chemicals chemicals, harmful chemicals, industrial effluents and packaging materials, various salts and garbage, it renders the soil useless. Rainwater percolates to the soil carrying the pollutants to the ground, and the groundwater also gets contaminated. So it's a cycle, and we are going to affect the ecological cycle if we are not going to take care of the very first basic thing, and that is that if if water is utilized in any of the process, then that hot water should not be drained into the river or water body. It has to be cooled first, it has to be processed, and then only it has to be released. Next is noise pollution. Noise pollution not only results in irritation and anger, it can also cause hearing impairment, increased heart rate and blood pressure, among other psychological effects. Unwanted sound is an irritant and a source of stress. Industrial and construction activities, machinery, factory equipments, generators, saws, and pneumatic and electric drills also make a lot of noise. Noise pollution, if you remember, during the Ganpati festival, and especially if you are staying on a Lakshmi Road or Tilak Road, or in your locality itself, when there are lot of speakers which are utilized, so definitely creates a noise pollution, and especially the elderly people who are affected by this noise pollution, they are not very happy with the overall noise which is going on at the background. Small children, even we for ourselves, if we are there in the chaotic traffic during the Ganpati festival and you are standing near the signal, and if you are going to hear this noise constantly behind, and there is a lot of traffic, somebody's honking, and this whole thing creates a huge amount of stress, and then we can see people fighting, shouting on the road just because of this stress which is created of noise. Correct? So this is all about noise pollution, which is there in our chapter. Also, all the types of pollution which we have been reading right now are either asked together as a 5-mark question or can be separately asked as a 3-mark question. So it is important that you add in examples required for that particular pollution. If you know any of the examples other than which is quoted in the textbook, definitely you can write it down as a example, as a point in your answer. Control of environmental degradation. How can industrial pollution of fresh water be reduced? By minimizing use of water for processing various industrial processes in which various processes take place. So it can be reduced by use of water can be reduced by reusing and recycling it in 2 or more successive stages. Harvesting of rainwater to meet water requirements. And third is treating hot water and effluents before releasing them in river and ponds. Treatment of industrial effluents can be done in 3 phases. First one is the primary treatment by mechanical means. This involves screening, grinding, flocculation and sedimentation. Second one is the secondary treatment by biological process, and tertiary treatment by biological, chemical and physical processes. This involves recycling of wastewater. Now, I'll quickly tell you information about the primary, secondary and tertiary treatment which is used in order to control the environmental degradation and in order to reduce the industrial pollution of the fresh water. Now, this process you have already been studying in the science textbook, so it will only be for your information that I'm going to reintroduce this in the geography part, but you can also use these points while writing down the answer. It is not a mandatory thing that you have to utilize these points, but if you can, it's well and good. It's not there in the textbook. It is only been explained in detail from next slide onwards for primary, secondary and tertiary for your understanding. Primary treatment is by mechanical means. This involves screening, grinding, flocculation and sedimentation. Screening removes objects such as paper, plastic and metals to prevent damage and clogging. Screening system washes the debris before discharging it. Grinders are used to reduce the particle size of wastewater solids. Flocculants are substances that promote the agglomeration of fine particles present in a solution, creating a floc. When they float to the surface or settle settle to the bottom, this can then be easily removed from the liquid. There are, for the process of coagulation, it's a chemical process, and so for this process suspended solids in water can be removed, and there are various coagulants which are used, and one of the known one is alum. Purpose of sedimentation is to enhance the filtration process by removing these particulates, and in sedimentation suspended particles are removed from the water by means of gravity or separation. Secondary treatment is by biological process. The main objective of secondary treatment is to remove most of the fine suspended and dissolved degradable organic matter that remains after primary treatment, so that the effluent may be rendered suitable for discharge. In secondary treatment, biological factors, that is organisms, play a major role in the treatment. Aeration process is based in the secondary treatment. There is an aeration process which takes place, which is used, that is based on pumping air into tank, which promotes the microbial growth in the wastewater. Microbes feed on this organic material, forming flocks which can easily settle out. Organisms which are most directly involved in this treatment are bacteria. Tertiary treatment is the advanced treatment process. Tertiary treatment includes removal of nutrients such as phosphorus and nitrogen and practically all suspended and organic matter from wastewater after following the process of secondary and primary treatment. The tertiary treatment is the final cleaning process that improves wastewater quality before it is reused, recycled, or discharged to the environment. Treatment removes remaining inorganic compounds and substances such as nitrogen and phosphorus. There are several disinfection agents which can be used depending upon the water condition, that is the pH balance. And among them, chlorine is the most time-tested and effective disinfection agent that is used. Fabric filters are commonly used in large industrial units to remove dust particles. These are the most efficient and cost-effective types of industrial dust collectors. Fabric filters can be made up of cotton, synthetic or glass fiber material. It just functions like a vacuum cleaner. When the dust-laden air enters through the hopper, then the heavier dust material fall immediately into the hopper while the lighter one gets deposited on the outer surface of these filter bags. Scrubbers remove unwanted gases and particulate matter from the industrial smokestacks before they enter the atmosphere. Wet and dry scrubbers can be used to get rid of the harmful pollutants and contaminants that are present or contained within this industrial gas. Wet scrubbers remove dust particles by capturing them in a liquid droplets. Dry scrubber is used to remove harmful material from industrial exhaust gases before they are released into the environment. Separators separate dust from gas streams using combination of forces such as centrifugal, gravitational, and inertial forces. Let's understand this particular thing. If I say a river with a sharp turn in it, and you might notice that at the corner of the river or a stream there will be collection of branches, sticks, twigs, leaves on the outside corner of the shoreline. This is an inertial separator. These branches, leaves, sticks are being carried along by the water, that is a medium. But when it comes to the sharp corner, water, that is the medium, flows around the corner, but branches and sticks, these are the particulate materials, because of the momentum, because of the inertia, are carried on to the shore and they're separated from water. Now imagine the same situation when air as a medium and dust as a particulate material like branches or sticks. When the direction of the rapidly flowing air is changed sharply because of the inertia, dust and other material in the air cause to continue in its original path. And if there is something at the corner of the direction change to catch or redirect the dust as it gets separated from the air. That is how these inertial separators work. Let us continue with our chapter and cover up our points, understand our points, remaining points for how to reduce environmental degradation. We have seen first 5 points. Sixth point that we are going to discuss is smoke can be reduced by using oil or gas instead of coal in factories. Machinery and equipments can be used and generators should be fitted with silencers. Almost all machinery can be redesigned to increase energy efficiency and reduce noise. So in order to reduce the smoke, oil or gas should be used instead of coal. Then machinery and equipments can be used and generators, there should be silencers which should be on it. Almost all machinery can be redesigned to increase energy efficiency and to reduce noise pollution. Noise absorbing material may be used apart from personal use of earplugs and earphones. So mostly people who are working in a manufacturing unit, industrial units, they tend to use earplugs and earphones in order to reduce the noise pollution. Otherwise it has a drastic effect on their health. The challenge of sustainable development requires integration of economic development with environmental concerns. So if we want a sustainable development, then there should be integration of economic development. That is, economic development should take place, definitely has to take place, but it should be along with the lines of environment. There should not be environmental concerns which can be raised or which should be raised just because we want economic development in our country. Sustainable development, it can be called as sustainable when we take care of each and everything around us, our nature, our earth, people, human beings, all the life form which are present on it. Example has been provided in our textbook in order to reduce the environmental degradation. Example is of NTPC. It is a major power providing corporation in India. It has an ISO certificate for EMS, that is Environment Management System. The corporation has a proactive approach for preserving the natural environment and resources like water, oil and gas and fuels in places where it is setting up power plants. Okay, so it is taking proactive approach in order to preserve the natural environment, and when they are utilizing the resources like water, oil, gas and fuels, so when they're setting up plants, so these are the things they take into consideration. What are the things that they consider? First, optimum utilization of equipments, adopting latest techniques and upgrading the existing equipments. Okay, second one is minimum waste generation by maximum ash pond utilization. All right, third one is providing green belts for nurturing ecological balance and addressing the questions of special purpose vehicles for afforestation. Then the fourth one is reducing environmental pollution through ash pond management, ash water recycling system and liquid waste management. That is what we have discussed. And the last point is ecological monitoring, that is reviews and online database management for all its power stations. The next two slides are the revision points that what we have discussed. So just go through it and remember those points while framing your answers. Here we come to the end of the chapter. As said previously, as said for history chapters, you are going to revise this chapter on a per day basis. One industry per day, that is what you are going to study. And frame your questions for 1 mark, 3 mark and 5 mark questions. Remember, all geography chapters are like small articles. And there are very few indirect questions, that is open-ended questions which will be asked. Mostly direct questions are asked for geography. And if open-ended questions are asked, they are asked for 1 or 3 marks. All right, but till now only open-ended questions have been asked in economics and civics. Straightforward questions have been asked for geography, so it is very easy to study geography part. All right, so on a per day basis do practice all the chapters, and that is one part per day. That is how you are going to go. Not more than 20 minutes are required to actually read a small part and frame your questions on it. All right, now on the next slide I'm attaching those maps which are there for mineral industries. So if you are not able to view these maps clearly in on this slide, so you can definitely go through the online PDF as I have mentioned. I'll specify the page number 2. So practice this mineral based industry maps also along with the manufacturing industries map.